Hello Curious and welcome back. As we get nearer and nearer to September, the excitement grows. And no, it has nothing to do with the back-to-school season, but all with the fact that on September 2nd, Amazon is releasing its long-awaited Lord of the Rings of Power series. The talk for the show had begun all the way back in 2017, and since then, fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's work have eagerly been awaiting news. And while that day has finally come, some have not been all too thrilled and even say they will boycott the production. But what exactly happened that caused some to react this way? What controversies already surround the series and its cast? Can audiences expect to see any stars from the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies in the upcoming show? And is Peter Jackson involved in any way? Stay with us to find out the answers to these questions and other news we know about the production, but before we continue, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscription button so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Talk of a TV show started all the way back in 2017 after Warner Bros. And the Tolkien estate had settled an $80 million lawsuit from 2012, where allegedly the film studios had infringed copyright and breached the contract by overstepping their authority. After everything got resolved, the two began looking at creating a potential television series based on Lord of the Rings and scouting potential streaming platforms. Given that Jeff Bezos was a huge fan of the franchise, Amazon soon emerged as the frontrunner, and in November that year, they acquired the television rights for a sum close to $250 million. Over the years, they had worked on the series behind the scenes, every now and then news emerging about producers and creators coming on board with the show. The news picked up at the start of 2020, and until now, as more concrete news such as posters, maps, images, cast announcements, and finally the trailer were released. All in all, the Amazon production will be a Game of Thrones style big budget fantasy series which is set to sprawl over 5 seasons. It is also set to become the most expensive TV show in history, as according to Vanity Fair, Amazon is estimated to spend at least $1 billion on production. This would dethrone MCU shows such as Loki, The Falcon, The Winter Soldier, WandaVision and Hawkeye, which had cost around $25 million per episode. So what exactly do we know about the plot of the series? It will be set thousands of years before the events of The Hobbit, and will follow the forging of the 20 Rings of Power and Sauron gaining power. As per the official announcement, the release of the trailer or the announcement of the cast did not offer too much in terms of what the exact plot line will include. With the forging of the rings, it would mean that the show will dive more into the elven character Celebrimbor, who created them and who will be played by Charles Edwards. Fans who have previously played the popular Middle-earth game Shadow of Mordor, or who read Tolkien's work, will already be familiar with the character. From the events depicted in the trailer and the characters featured, it is implied that the show will take place during the Second Age, while the Peter Jackson movies took place in the Third Age. Though, it is possible that the series will show events prior to it, possibly in the form of flashbacks to the First Age, and according to fans, the reason for it is an elven character shown towards the end of the teaser, who many speculate is Galadriel's older brother Finrod. Though to keep the episode as spoiler-free as possible for you, we're not going to delve into the actual history of Middle-earth, we'll let the Amazon series do that. But stay with us as we're going to find out if it's possible to see any actors or characters from Peter Jackson's franchises in the show. The first season will consist of 8 episodes. The show is not based on any single text by J.R.R. Tolkien, but will source storylines and inspiration from the vast backstory the author created in books such as The Silmarillion and The Appendices, though it is not a direct adaptation of one text. For legal reasons, it is also not a direct prequel of the previous Peter Jackson trilogies. However, the production team has revealed that they will be keeping the show in the same production style as the movies, so they can appear as similar as possible. As for the production of the show, New Line Cinema, who produced the movies, are involved, as are the special effects company Weta Workshop and Weta Digital. A thing that fans are also super excited about is the possibility of Howard Shore, that composed the Lord of the Rings soundtracks, working on the show, as according to Deadline, he is in the talks to be involved in the Amazon series. At the start of the creation of the show, it was reported that Peter Jackson was supposed to have been involved in it, though in June 2018, Digital Spy reported that the Academy Award-winning director will not be involved, the statement made via his reps. But could the characters and actors from his movies make an appearance? The characters, yes, but the actors, sadly not so much. Some fans could not believe this, especially since the likes of Cate Blanchett, Ian McKellen and Hugo Weaving are synonymous with their respective roles of Galadriel, Gandalf and Elrond. There have been many speculations as to why, and one of them was that the aforementioned legal reasons, the show is not a prequel to the movies. Another factor could be that the actors, unlike their characters, have aged and possibly might not want to make a commitment for a show that will be several years in production. In a 2020 interview with Variety, when asked if he would reprise the role of Elrond, Weaving had said, "No way, absolutely no. I'm not interested in that at all. I loved being in New Zealand with all those great people, and it was like going back to a family, but actually, to be honest, I think everyone had more than enough of it." Though if you are a fan of his character, fear not, because chances are we will be seeing more of Elrond in the Rings of Power. We've already mentioned the actor of Celebrimbor, and it is a time to introduce you to some of the other cast. With Weaving not being involved in the series, the role of his character will be played by Robert R. Mayo. Galadriel will be played by Welsh actress Morfydd Clark, Isildur, who were introduced to in The Lord of the Rings, by Maxim Baldry, Prince Durin IV will be played by Owain Orfer, Elven King Gil-galad, who in the prologue of Lord of the Rings had a blink and you'll miss it appearance, will be played by Benjamin Walker. Other cast members include Nazanin Bonadi, Peter Mulan, Ishmael Cruz Cordova, and Sofia Nomvete, to name but a few. And that is exactly when it comes to the cast that there had been some people who were claiming they were going to boycott the Amazon series. Some of the main discourse on social media surrounding the casting choices revolved around the skin colour of Cruz Cordova and Nomvete. Several internet users had found issues with the fact that they had dark skin. Their characters are new and never appeared in the author's work, including Arondir the elf and the dwarven princess Disa, both portrayed by a Latinx and black actor respectively. Some had felt that this was a deliberate attempt so that the show would fit with the political correctness, and that it clashed with what had been described in the books. Other fans, who are more optimistic about the show, had championed the diverse cast and have claimed that those who were complaining about wokeness and characters not being in the books were using it to mask their racism. To this, some scholars had pointed out that this goes against everything that Tolkien believed, as the man himself was anti-racist both in peacetime and during the two world wars. But it wasn't just the new characters some fans were also disappointed in, but the portrayal of some already existing ones, especially Elrond and Galadriel. In the upcoming production, Elrond is described as an architect and Galadriel as a commander of armies. Some fans saw issue with that, claiming that how is it possible for a powerful elf like Elrond, who was the herald of the Elven King, can now be an ambitious elven statesman, and Galadriel, who had never fought in some of the most prominent wars in Middle-earth, such as War of Wrath or The Last Alliance, and instead was one of the wisest of her kind, suddenly became a great warrior. Though for this argument, some had pointed out that the show's plotline is allegedly supposed to end after the aforementioned Last Alliance, which is the war we see in the Lord of the Rings prologue. So over the course of the series, the characters will have a chance to grow and get to the point fans remember from the Peter Jackson movies. Some also had issue with the fact that some of the elves had short hair, especially Ishmael's character Arondir, as well as the aforementioned elf who many claim is Finrod. Of course, fans who also watched Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit will remember seeing the elves with long hair, including the male characters, and taking that away, some fans have stated, is doing a disservice to the previous movies. And as with the hair on someone's head, some are unhappy with the fact that the female dwarven character is lacking a beard, despite the books as well as the previous trilogy mentioning that dwarf women were sometimes mistaken for men because of their facial hair. Another thing that some had issue with is the introduction of new characters. In the Hobbit movies, when Peter Jackson had introduced the character of Tauriel and implemented her story into the trilogy, there was a lot of backlash from some fans who were against the elf-dwarf love story that had never occurred in the books and took attention away from the important things. Though here, it is worth pointing out that when the Lord of the Rings movies had come out back in 2001, just like now, not everyone was happy. Already back then, people were upset with the thing, such as the lack of Tom Bombadil, Glorfindel, Elrond's twin sons, and the Barrow Wights, all characters that had some prominence in the books but were ultimately not featured in the movies at all. They also had issues with the fact that Arwen was made such a prominent character in the movies, despite it not being the case in the Tolkien text. So while some fans of the movies that are beloved by them now were quick to complain, they are now calling to people to give this series a chance and watch it first before making up their minds about boycott. So what do you think, Curious? Are you going to give the series a watch, or are you completely not interested in it at all? Which characters do you hope to see in this upcoming production, and which storyline do you hope they include in it? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.